All right, let's dive into a masterful piece of satire from HARISHANKAR Parsai's collection Nittale Ki Diary. It's a story that starts with a pretty bizarre, almost divine message sent in a letter from a friend. And with this incredible wit, it just peels back the layers of what it really means to be a patriot. So, imagine this. It's wartime, and you get a letter from a friend who's living overseas. He tells you he had this incredible dream where Mother India herself appeared and named one specific person, a local businessman from your town, as one of the very few people whose sacrifice is actually winning the war. I mean, wouldn't you be just a little bit curious? And really, the whole story gets kicked into gear because of this one single strange dream. The narrator's friend is so shaken by it that he has to write a letter, desperate to figure out what on earth makes this one guy so special. Right off the bat, Parsai gives us this totally absurd idea that a whole nation's victory isn't about the masses, but about a handful of special people. And that right there is our first big clue, that this is satire, questioning the whole idea of collective sacrifice. So, who was this chosen one? Is it a soldier on the front lines? A selfless doctor? Nope, it's Kanchan Babu, the owner of a well-known local business. The narrator is just stunned. He knows the guy, but he can't for the life of him imagine what this man could be doing to get a personal shout-out from Mother India in a dream. So naturally, our narrator decides to do a little investigating. And this brings us right to the heart of the story, seeing Kanchan Babu's patriotism in action. And you'll see the title of this section, The Polish of Patriotism, has this brilliant double meaning. So the narrator heads into town and finds a big crowd gathered in the main square, and right there, in the middle of it all, is the prominent, wealthy Kanchan Babu. And what's he doing? He's on his knees, polishing shoes. I mean, the visual alone is just a masterpiece of public performance. And right next to him is this sign spelling out his grand gesture. See, this isn't just about polishing shoes, it's a patriotic duty. Every single penny is for the nation. The narrator even notices that Kanchan Babu looks, well, better, more radiant doing this than he ever does at his own shop, as if patriotism itself is giving him a special glow. So for everyone watching, this whole act is perfectly crafted. When you see a rich man doing such a humble task, it becomes this powerful symbol of selfless sacrifice. The crowd is just in awe. And just like that, Kanchan Babu has cemented his image as a true patriot. But here's the million-dollar question. Is it real? Our narrator is still completely baffled. This whole public display is one thing, but he needs to understand the real motivation. So he decides he's going to visit Kanchan Babu at his home that evening and get the real story. And now we finally get to the truth. When the narrator tells Kanchan Babu about the dream, the businessman actually blushes, and that whole carefully built facade just starts to crumble. We find out the real story isn't about patriotism at all. It's about the headache of donations. And this just brilliantly shows the core of Parsai's satire. You've got two Kanchan Babus. There's the public patriot, this big symbol of sacrifice, and then there's the private businessman, who's driven by calculation, annoyance, and just pure self-preservation. Kanchan Babu finally spills the beans. He starts complaining about this constant stream of people coming to him asking for money. And here's the real kicker. He says he sees no difference between someone collecting for an orphanage and someone collecting for the National Security Fund. To him, it's all just a chanda, a donation, a bother, a dent in his bottom line. And his cynicism is just razor sharp. When one group points out that he gave a huge donation to the British during World War II, he has this stunningly honest comeback. He tells them, look, my father made 10 lakh rupees during that war, so giving away 10,000 was easy. And this is where Parsai's critique is at its most brutal. War, to a businessman like him, is not a time for sacrifice. It's a business opportunity. So how did he even come up with this shoe polishing scheme? Well, this might just be the most satirical twist in the whole story. The idea wasn't even his. He stole it from his son, who he talks about like he's some kind of revolutionary genius. This is Parsai at his absolute best, using family to expose a huge societal flaw. We can actually define his strategy, right? Let's call it the Kanchan Babu method, an innovative strategy for avoiding donations while, at the same time, earning a ton of public praise. It's a perfect system for turning social pressure into social gain, all without spending a dime. See, the whole method started with his son, a university student who was getting pestered to donate his pocket money. He didn't want to part with his cash, so he came up with this brilliant solution. He performed a service instead. He set up a shoe polishing stand, donated all the proceeds, and what happened? He didn't have to spend his own money, the harassment stopped, and he was celebrated as a local hero. And Kanchan Babu is genuinely in awe of his son's cynical little masterstroke. It's hilarious. He calls this manipulative scheme a revolutionary thought. He actually says he took his son as his guru and immediately copied the method. It's such a sharp critique, showing how hypocrisy gets passed down and even celebrated as some kind of generational wisdom. So ultimately, what is Harishankar Parsai really telling us with this story? Well, it's a timeless critique of what we might call performative patriotism. The act of looking like a patriot without making any kind of real sacrifice. This chart basically says it all. Just look at that first bar. Cash donations from his own wallet are at 0. A big fat nothing. But look at the return on that investment. Public praise is maxed out, and all those annoying collectors are gone. It's a perfect, totally cost-free transaction for him. And that really brings us to the core message here. Parsai shows us that a big public performance of sacrifice is often so much easier and frankly more socially profitable than the quiet, unseen act of actually giving something up. The story ends with the narrator writing back to his friend. He explains the whole sordid story and then finishes with this chilling but hilarious warning. He suggests that the figure in the dream couldn't possibly have been the real Mother India. No, it must have been an enemy imposter, because it seems even our dreams are now being infiltrated by hypocrisy. And that really leaves us with a final thought, doesn't it? Parsi Samaro wrote this decades ago, but his satire feels more relevant today than ever before. In our age of social media and constant public posturing, the story forces us to ask, who are the Kanchan Babus of today? Who is out there polishing the shoes of patriotism for everyone to see, all while keeping their wallet firmly shut?